So in this video, we're going to check out the chords page located down here, which is where we can go in and edit our chord sets. So the chords page, as I said, provides in-depth editing options for chords used in each one of our sounds. So it's where you can go in and edit things, set different notes in the chord, and also kind of add your own chords in there. Okay, so let's have a look at the parameters. So first of all, in the top left-hand corner, we have this piano mode. Now, some of the sounds are quite complex and can make auditioning the chord and isolating what's going on with the chord a little bit difficult. So in the piano mode, it's going to play back the chord as a basic piano sound. So let's just check out the sound we've got here. So it's Ask the Dusk. So it's maybe a little bit complex to decipher each individual note of this chord. Let's put it into piano mode. So we've still got all those effects on there, but it's a little bit maybe easier to hear than it is without the piano mode on. Okay, so then we have our kind of main chords view here. So that's separated into columns, and each column represents one of the chords that we can play back using the MIDI keyboard. Now, each chord can consist of up to 6 notes, and as I said, each one of the chords corresponds to a note on a MIDI keyboard. As you can see here, it has that kind of illuminated line through it. Now, above each one of these columns, or the top of the column, we have this little lock icon, so we can click that on. What that means is that when it's locked, the chord is going to be excluded from responding to shuffle order and also the clear all functions we're going to look at later. So when we're shuffling the chords, which we're going to come on to, if they're locked, they'll stay in their original position. Okay, so we can edit notes from within here. So if we come on to one of the notes, we can click up and down to transpose the note up and down. Okay, so now moving up here, this is where we can clear all, and just to demonstrate the lock function here, we select clear all. You see that is now going to remain there. Now we have nothing located within our chord set apart from this first chord that was locked. So let's look at another function, which is the ability to be able to record chords in. So when we click on this record button here, this is going to activate MIDI recording for the corresponding chord. So we're not limited by the chord sets. We can add in our own chords if we want to as well. Now, when we do this, it's going to play back the chord using a basic piano sound. So let's put a chord in. I'll just put in a kind of D-7 chord. And what it's going to do is it's going to place the notes in order of lowest to highest. So it's going to stack them up essentially. So I'll play the chord. So there we have the D-7 chord. You see it's recognized all the notes within that chord and stack them up. So now when we play back this new progression, we've got that new chord that I added in there. Let's add in a couple more just so we've got a bit more to play with. So I'll do a C major. And let's do an F major 7. There we go. Take that off again. And let's hear what we've got. Now, once we're happy with the chord progression, we can drag and drop it into our DAW for further use. You can see there. So it's playing back a piano sound. And something we can also do, in fact, I'll just leave that open there. Let's say we cleared all of these. So we've got nothing in there. We can also drag in a MIDI file. So let's move across to the Finder. Now, I actually exported that progression from Logic here. So if we just drag and drop this onto Playbox, you see now it's analyzed that MIDI file and it's created that progression within Playbox. So we can export and import MIDI files. Okay, now down at the bottom here, we can choose chord sets to load up. So these are like chord presets essentially. Let's say we chose this one. We come out of here. You'll see now we have a different progression loaded up. Same sound, different progression, and we can move through using these arrows here as well. Now, as well as this, we can actually choose a random chord set too, using the little dice icon. Now, if we just come to the chord sets browser here, we have some kind of subcategories here, all, simple, extended, complex, unison, user. We can actually randomize within certain categories. So if we say extended, see it's got this little blue dot, that tells us now we're randomizing from the category of extended essentially, or we could make that simple. And now we're going to be choosing from simple chord sets. So we can basically narrow down the search a little bit. Let's just come out of here. Now, in addition, we know from previous examples that if we lock this, this is going to remove this from the randomization from up here. So we could keep the same chord set and randomize the samples and the effects. Okay, so we also have an audition button here. Now this is going to replace the sound and make it a basic piano sound. And it means we can actually play back MIDI traditionally on the MIDI keyboard. So we can kind of audition chords we might want to use. And then finally, we have this shuffle order option. Now we kind of discussed this earlier when we talked about locking. The shuffle order is going to shuffle the chords around into a different order. If we lock a chord, you'll see this one is now not shuffling. So that could just give you some happy accidents in terms of how you play back the progression. And that is the functionality of the chords page. So to recap, we had the piano mode up here, which is going to switch the sound engine to playing back a basic piano sound, which may be easier to hear than the more complex sound that you have loaded up. The main chords view here shows the chords in columns, and that's going to correspond to each chord you play back on the MIDI keyboard. And we can also lock a chord up here, which is going to remove it from being shuffled, and also from the clear all function up here. We can also transpose individual notes of a chord, clicking on the note and clicking up and down, depending on which direction we want to transpose. That's the edit note function. We can export MIDI from here. We can import MIDI just by dragging and dropping it onto this main display. We can choose different chord sets by clicking on here or opening up this view here, and we can do that within categories or search directly as well. We can randomize by choosing from all the chord sets or simple, extended, complex, etc. Come back out here. We know we can lock chords, and we can also audition, which will turn the MIDI keyboard back into the traditional MIDI keyboard playing back a piano sound to try and find a chord that might fit. And shuffle order allows us to reorder the chords so that we get a different progression when we play back essentially. And again, as I said, we can lock that so that the lock chord will stay in its original position. And that covers the chords page. So now we've covered the chords page. In the next video, we're going to head across and look at the samples page. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.